And now we welcome Julie Fulgham, Director of the city's Development Services, here to talk to us about a few items. And the first one I wanted to cover are these international building code requirements and the adjustments that we're looking to make.
Yes, so we have been working since January to adopt and amend the new 2021 ICC codes. The city adopts minimum building standards mainly for the citizens of Victoria and our insurance rating. So the insurance service organization takes these building codes and then publishes information for insurance agencies to use to set rates for Victoria. So that's why we adopt minimum building codes. And every 3 years, the International Code Council publishes new building codes. But it's not so simple as just adopting those codes. We have a lot of local amendments. We have, a very humid climate here, so sometimes that really makes things difficult. So we have to go through every single published code and look at amendments and look at what's right for Victoria. And so we've been working on that since January, and
Wow.
we should have them adopted by August 3rd.
And some of these changes include areas like requirements for skylights in buildings. I think it was it 20,000 square feet or less?
Yes, so the building code is set up by occupancies. What's the type of building, what's the use, is it a church or an office building? And then it also has a lot of thresholds, and there's a lot of state law thresholds on the size of buildings. So whenever you have a building that's over 5,000 square feet, we get engineers and architects involved, and then there's another kind of set of rules for buildings over 20,000 square feet. And so when we looked at amendments to the building codes, we really talked about those thresholds. And so we made a lot of changes based on if a building is 5,000 square feet or 20,000 square feet. So for example, in the new codes, the energy code, it required that daylight be brought into the building to reduce, overhead lights. And that can be a little difficult, especially when you read the specific language that they have in the codes. And so we decided that's not necessarily a bad idea, but let's leave that to the professionals. And so we made an amendment, but that only applies to buildings over 20,000 square feet because that's when you have to get an architect involved.
And here we're prone to hurricanes, roofs leaking, so skylight may not be the best plan for everyone.
Exactly. And that's why we said leave it to the professionals. We'll just make that for buildings over 20,000 square feet.
And talk to us about the changes to the metropolitan statistics data. We were in danger of losing some federal funding, but thanks to some, recognition.
Yes. So yeah, that's a separate issue. So again, in January, the Office of Management Budget with the federal government published some proposed changes to the definition of metropolitan statistical areas. And they were proposing to change the threshold from 50,000 in population to 100,000 in population. And our MSA is right there at 99,000. So we were very nervous because a lot of agencies will use that definition to allocate federal funding. And so City Council passed a resolution opposing that change. We submitted it to the Federal Register as an official comment, as well as passed it on to Michael Cloud's office, and he also submitted a comment in opposition of the proposed changes. And last week, the Office of Management Budget did just finally announce their determination on their proposed changes, and they are keeping the MSA designation as 50,000. So we're very excited about that.
That is excellent news. And what programs would that have impacted?
So probably, I can only really speak to what we have in the city of Victoria. Of course, federal funding comes through the community and all sorts of different organizations. But for the city of Victoria, we have the Metropolitan Planning Organization grant as well as our Community Development Block grant. And so we're a lot more hopeful that we'll be able to keep that funding of those grants based on that the designation of 50,000.
Well, that is great news, Julie, and thank you for joining us on Community Crossroads. Coming up, we hear from the Victoria i.s.d. on an upcoming job fair.